Hi, I'm Phil Richards. Today we're at Juno Lighting Group's Idea Lab and we're going to talk about a product called Solo-Task. These little mini lights are so flexible they can be used for just about anything. Under kitchen cabinets, inside kitchen cabinets, maybe you've got glass shelves or things that you'd like to show off in there, glass fronts, little cubby holes in a closet where you might have pairs of shoes or purses, and little art niches in the wall. What makes this system so flexible is the fact that we run these little lights off of a remote transformer. Remote transformers are of two types, electronic, which I'm holding here, and magnetic. Although the electronic transformer can actually run the first light off the run as far as 20 feet away, we're going to follow the more recommended distance of within 4 feet. Mounting distance from the first fixture with the transformer is far less of an issue with the magnetic transformer, which can be remoted a much farther distance. Let's also remember that magnetic and electronic transformers each have their own dedicated dimmers. So make sure that you get a dimmer that's compatible with your system. So the first thing that we want to talk about is bringing the line voltage to the transformer and locating the transformer. The transformer could be located under the kitchen cabinet, inside the kitchen cabinet, but the main thing we need to remember is that it should be in a place where it won't be disturbed, but is still readily accessible. So let's get started. Today we're going to show you how to install 2 Solo-Task lights and its transformer. Let's open up one of the packages and see what we get inside. And so there's my fixture. And here are the instructions, which we're going to set aside for a moment. And there's a little parts bag here that has 2 self-tapping screws and an extra little set screw for the terminal blocks inside the fixture. There are actually 2 different wiring methods that we could use for Solo-Task, both daisy chain styles, one with exposed wire that I might use under a kitchen cabinet, connecting fixture to fixture in a run, or inside the kitchen cabinet. I probably don't want to see the exposed wire when I open up that door, so we'll feed the wires through from the top, so all I see is the Solo-Task itself. For today's purpose, we're going to do this in an exposed mock-up area here for you so that you can actually see what's going on. Since we're bringing line voltage into our transformer via this flexible armored cable, we want to make sure that we shut the power off at the service panel. Now let's open up our transformer. I'm just removing the screws here. And the cover. And you can see on this end, we've got a connector to accept our line voltage, which is coming in. I'm just going to feed that through there. Tighten the connector. Give it a little pull to make sure it's secure. And one more turn. And I'm going to grab those black, green, and white wires that are coming through that connector into my little housing. And I will attach them to the corresponding wire terminals. In this case, my green ground terminal is loose inside of the housing. There's my ground connection. And my black connection, this of course is a little terminal block, is going to go into the corresponding black lug. And let's tighten that down. Next, the white. Next, we'll connect the Class 2 wire to the secondary side of the transformer, also a screw lug terminal. So I'm going to split those wires and feed them through that oval-shaped hole. These are the wires that, of course, connect to my to my load. And I'll strip those. You may notice here there's no black wire and white wire. We just have two red wires going into two black wires. With low voltage systems, we are not required to observe any kind of polarity. I'm tightening the screw now down onto my first wire and my second wire coming next. Now that our wiring is complete, we're ready to cut our secondary wire and then mount the transformer. So using the holes that are provided and my trusty yellow pencil, I'm going to mark those holes. And drill some pilot holes with my drill. And we're ready to mount that transformer. We'll grab the two self-tapping screws that are provided, insert through the hole, and drive those in with our Phillips. Now that our mounting is complete, let's replace the cover and reattach the screws. And we're ready to install our fixtures. Our first method of wiring that we're going to demonstrate is bringing the wires in from above. So let's take a look at the fixture first. I'm going to take that top off with a quarter turn. You can see that there's two sets of terminals on each side. On our first fixture, we're going to use both sets of terminals because I'm going to be bringing my power in from my transformer into one set and then continuing from the second set to the next fixture. The next fixture will only use one set of terminals and hence will only need one hole drilled. My first fixture will need two holes drilled. I've already determined that I want to bring that first fixture in about a foot off the edge of my cabinet, and then using the ideal spacing of 18 inches, we'll measure that off too. So measuring off a foot, I'm actually gonna, the center of the fixture at 1 foot means the terminal, the holes I need to bring the wire into the terminals are gonna be at 11 inches. And then using that 11-inch mark, I'm gonna measure 18 inches to my next fixture. I've already marked those with my pencil, and using the template provided in the instructions, I'm gonna match that one up. And mark my second hole using the template. Next, I'll measure 18 inches from my first mark. Mark it with my pencil. Create a little pilot hole there. I'll now take my drill. And you can see this is a fairly large bit, and that's because we actually have to fit the full width of that Class 2 wire through the holes. And I'll drill out from above. Now let's size our wire lengths. So I'm going to take that secondary Class 2 wire off of the transformer and feed it through my first hole. Bring it down. And of course, because our wire is not exposed, it'll actually be hidden above the fixtures. When we cut these off, we can leave a little bit of extra wiggle room so we have plenty of room to strip and wire. For my second fixture, which is the end of the run, I'm going to feed through, bring it over to my second hole for the first fixture. And I would say 3 or 4 inches is probably an adequate length to give us enough enough wiggle room to do that. I'll cut that off. Even them up. Cut my end run. And done. Next we'll strip our wires. And I'm going to split this wire, these two conductors in this class 2 wire. There we go, so I can get that stripper around them. I'll do my next one. And the third. Next I'll take my strippers, take about 3/8 of an inch off the end of that wire, just enough to get it into that terminal block. And I'm going to twist the ends. Now we're ready to wire our fixtures. The first thing that I want to do is take a small kind of a screwdriver like you might use to tighten the screws on a pair of eyeglasses and actually back those little screw terminal screws out because they're fastened down very, very tightly. Taking care not to back them out too far. I'm going to push my conductors into those 2 terminal slots. First the one, and tighten. Second one. And tighten. Next I'll take my second set of wire leads, insert them into the other side. This, of course, is the run that connects to my next fixture. And my second fixture. Only half the amount of work. Now that all of our fixtures are wired up, we're ready to actually mount them to the bottom of our cabinet. So let's take this first one, push it all the way up, make sure that nothing is in the way or being pinched or anything like that. And I'm just going to grab my drill and using the fixture itself as a pilot hole, I'll drill my pilot holes for the screw. I'll grab my trusty Phillips. And mount the second screw. Do the same with the second fixture. Put the covers back on with a little quarter twist. And then after that we can do a little bit of wire management above, just to keep things nice and neat. Using the clips provided, I can actually fasten those to the top of the cabinet. You can see there's actually an adhesive back on those. and just enough to keep it out of the way and laying down nice and flat so that it doesn't catch on anything. Our installation is now complete. Let's restore our power back at the load center and test our lights. Our next method of installation that we're going to discuss is the exposed wire method. This is very typical of under-cabinet kitchen fixtures where we have the transformer maybe fastened to the back wall or sitting on the floor of the cabinet, and we just drill a hole and bring that secondary lead to the first fixture and then daisy chain from there. So the first thing that we're going to do is remove the covers to expose our wiring terminals. And what I'm going to do is this will be the first fixture coming right off of the secondary on the transformer, and I'm going to attach a set of leads on that one. So I'll need to strip those. Both ends, because this is also going to connect to my next fixture. And because we want the fixtures at an 18-inch on center, you can see that the terminals are actually on the edge of a 2-inch, of about a 2-inch diameter fixture. So when we use a 16-inch lead, that is going to put the center to center spacing for the fixtures at 18 inches. Now I'm going to actually twist my wires up and push them into the terminals. Again, backing those little screws out to make sure that I've got enough room in that wire terminal lug. We'll do one. And the next. And we'll give that an extra half turn just to make sure it's in there nice and secure. So let's swing our cabinet over here. And we'll bring our secondary wire through our cabinet, and we'll strip those leads as well. Twisting the ends. All right, they're in nice and securely, but I'm going to just give them another little twist here to make sure. And of course, what we're going to do is we're going to use the holes that are already in the fixture as a mounting template. Okay, so I'd say that that's pretty well centered. And fastening that Phillips screw. There we go, and you can see that we're already have our secondary from the transformer coming in and our next lead to the fixture ready to attach. So this is very convenient because now we can actually attach our second fixture in midair. I'll attach one and the next. So that makes it very easy to wire. And this also allows me to make sure that the wire is kind of nice and close to my mounting surface and doesn't have a lot of slack or play in it, which makes a more clean installation. And you can see my first screw holds it in place nice and securely for my second hole. Okay, now all we need to do is replace the covers. I'm going to align a little tab on the inside of that decorative piece with the slot on the chassis. Give it a quarter turn. You can see it goes up nice and easy. Do the second one. Looking pretty good, but for the finishing touch, we'll put a little bit of wire management on there. And I'll attach one of these adhesive-backed clips to the underside of the cabinet to keep that wire from hanging down and out of sight, and again on the one from my transformer. The only thing that we need to do now is go back to our service panel, restore the power, and test the lights. Okay, that concludes our demonstration on the installation of Juno Solo-Task, and don't forget, it's all in the lighting.